Hello, hello. And I'm back again from what will probably be a quick stream. And I thought I'd do a little bit of a status update on the Isekai story I'm working on. And you could say that there have been two parallel things. Two things I've been doing in parallel related to the story in the last couple of weeks. And one is sort of administrative things around trying to start publishing. First episode, that work has not really progressed much last week or so. So that's more or less where it was. But the other thing that I have been doing in parallel has had a little bit more progress, and that is trying to continue the storyline out into book 3 and book 4. And that work has actually gone quite well. I have not finished the overall story for book 3. I have written the first part, and then there are some details that I need to decide on, some scenes I have to juggle around and try to get a fit. There are some scenes that I want to have in the story, but I have to sort of find a way to make them fit and adapt them, and that work remains. There are also some details decide on, but the overall structure of the story is more or less done. So I have written the first part, prose text, and I have actually written the last part of the story. So I know how it ends. I also have some pieces in the middle there, but there are also some major parts of the story that are missing, but still many of the important bits are in place. And book 3 leads directly into book 4, and that book I haven't really written much prose text for it, but I have written a possible start, at least something that sort of establishes some of the things that happen, and I have written the end. So I have actually written the very first and very end of book 4, and book 4 ends with what I guess is a summary of much of what happened in the book for various reasons. But I have to actually sit down and write this text, and I have to decide on how much of the events that I'm going to actually write out. So basically the characters, okay, let's sort of take it from the start. So we say the first and second book are set in the place where the hero awakens upon his death. So the countries that are close to the country that he is reborn in, resurrected in, and at the start of the third book, various things happen, and they travel around a little bit, so, as I said, I haven't gotten all the pieces to fit, but they travel and they end up somewhere else, at the end of book 3 they meet a new character, and they meet two new characters actually, but they meet one sort of these are quite important actually, but there's one that will become sort of companion, at least for now, and that character I guess you could say in many ways she is the most frightful of the companions that the hero has acquired so far, but in a slightly different meaning than for the others. And they travel with her, and they travel to help her with some things, and various events ensue, and at one point I think that this story reaches a point where the challenges are sort of resolved, but there's still sort of clean up to do, you could say, and the way that I handled that in the end that I wrote is that this is retold to a person, and I think perhaps that what I'll do when I write it is that I'll write the events of the events that are retold at the end up to a certain point, and after that point, when the sort of challenges are resolved, I will just skip ahead, and then we have the summary of the events, and then they travel on. And so there are still some bits and pieces that are missing, but the nice thing about having mapped out much of book 3 and also book 4 is that that was more or less what I wanted to have as the beginning, you could say, of the story. So I have tried to use 4 books to establish the world and the characters and the challenges that exist in the world, and then use a couple of books after that to try to have the characters solve the problems that either exist in the world or are revealed by things that the characters do, or that are a result of things that the characters do. And sort of have a series of books that look at these. I think perhaps what still this is sort of in the future, but what I think I'll probably do is that I'll choose one, for example, one country or one character, and then I'll sort of try to resolve the problems related to that country. For example, they travel to the country A, and presumably country A will have some kind of relationship to one of the characters, one of the companions of the protagonist, and they will try to resolve these problems, and that will be that story. So it's a little bit like a side quest in a game. You could say I haven't really decided on whether I'm going to use the enumeration on the books. So if I have book 1, 2, 3, 4, I haven't decided on whether I'm going to use book 5 for the next story or whether I'm going to do something like a different name, for example, the country or the character, and then focus on that, or whether I'm simply going to use book 5. There are probably some good arguments for the latter, but I'll be thinking a little bit closer about that when I get that far. But the goal is sort of to have these different side stories, I guess you could say. Not really side stories because it involves the main character, presumably. But it's not a direct sort of continuation of the story elements that are revealed in book 1 to 4. And by that I mean that again, this is things that can change as I go along, but what I've been thinking is that I have a major story arc that I have started on with the first 4 books, and then I will at one point end the entire series with the continuation of that story, and in the middle I will expand on the world, the characters, and gradually build up towards the conclusion. But maybe it's possible to have the if you call them side stories as non-essential reading, meaning that if I use book numbers 1 to 4 for the initial story, and then something like 5 or 6 for the very end of the storyline, I could perhaps make it so that you could read books 1 through 6 as one, and not read the books or the stories that are set between book 4 and 5, even though that will obviously need to be quite a lot of different stories. And I guess it's 2 reasons why I wanted to do it like this. One is that, or rather there are several reasons. One is that I want to sort of flesh out the world a little bit. Another is that I want to gradually build up towards the conclusion of the story. And another is simply that I think the character register has gotten a little bit big. He has too many companions. Let's see, he started out with 2, and then he meets 2 more. No, he starts out with 2, then he gains 1 more, and then he gains 2 more, and then 1 other, and let's see, so there are 3, 4, 5, 6 characters at least in addition to the protagonist. That's towards the end of book 2, I think. And in books 3 and 4, there will likely be added at least 2 or 3 more characters, maybe 4. And at that point there are around 10. Not all of them are sort of major characters. Then there is another one, so 11. And the 11th character brings with her 2 more characters. So there are starting to be a lot of characters. And the one thing I'm seeing is that it's difficult to have everybody travel along together and sort of handle this in a meaningful way. If you have a character there and that character doesn't really get any opportunity to say anything or do anything, you can ask, why is that character there at all? One thing that would be simpler by having these kind of side stories is that it could make the focus a little bit narrower. So you have, let's say for example that you have Kingdom X, and then you have character, for example, Princess from Kingdom X, and she and a couple of other characters travel to that country and try to presumably resolve some kind of conflict or something in that country, while the others are doing other things. And again, this is something I will have to think about. I haven't really done any thinking about this at all, really, but yeah, I guess what I could do is sort of to split up most of the characters and have them go their separate ways, and perhaps have one story for each of them, or rather for each group of them. That sort of happen in parallel, and then they get together at the end. But there are again problems with this, so I would have to write the stories serially, unless I sort of read everything in parallel, so that you have a story where the characters split up, and then you have chapter 1 is character A and B, and chapter 2 is character C and D, and so on. That's obviously a way to do it, but that's really only meaningful if there's at least some connection between the events. So if they really are going their separate merry ways, then it seems like it would be better to have them in separate books. And I guess it's also the aspect of whether some characters would be less popular. I guess that's probably not helpful way to think about these things, but still the possibility is there, so that by having the story split up, you have the possibility of skipping the stories for the characters that you do not like, and then you can read the stories for the characters that you do enjoy, and then you can read the end. That's one possibility. I still didn't know how what kind of time scale I'll end up having for this. So I did obviously manage to write first bits of the story in about half a year. Of course, parts of that time would have been spent not really knowing which direction I was going to go, and by now I do know that, so that the direction of the effort involved is going in a different direction, but there's also sort of other related work, you could say. There's the website and so on, and these I think I talked about that already, so-called B character series. as in the story that does world building and with a different set of characters. And I don't know how time will be spent and what kind of progress I'll be able to see, but I think that in the end, or rather in the beginning, I'll start out with a low level of ambition with regards to speed and try to make one chapter each week. And since it's the text is mostly written, that will mean that I clean up one chapter each week. Of course, one thing I've seen is that there is some work involved in cleaning up the text. There's the spell checking, and there are the grammar things and so on. And there are also the things that I haven't really looked on that much yet, but which is the potential structural changes and so on. That is something that I hope to do this summer before I start publishing the first chapter. But at the moment, that is still in the future. And luckily, I guess it will be simpler to do restructuring since I know a little bit more about the direction the story is going in, so that it's possible to have that in mind when I decide on whether I should make any changes or not. And then there's the work of splitting up the text into chapters, and I have done a little bit. I did an attempt of doing that, and what I saw was that the chapter sizes, as I found them, was not very much aligned with the appears to be the common length of a serial chapter, a serial novel chapter, which means that I will have to think a little bit about how I address that. So there does appear to be a sort of formula to how these stories are published, and it seems like there might perhaps be expectations from readers with regards to chapter publishing frequency and chapter length and so on. And I guess I will try to keep that in mind, but not slavishly follow it, I think. I think that's the most pragmatic thing to do. But if I do so, it will mean that there are several chapters that will end up being quite a bit longer than 4,000 words. And there are, of course, multiple ways to address that. One is to simply split them up further and call them part 1, 2, and 3, and so on. Another is to see if it's possible to rewrite them a little bit, and that's something I'll hopefully get around to soon. But for the moment, I am the time I spent on this has been spent on extending the story, and I have it almost at a point where I have it almost at the point where I wanted to have it. So. If I manage to fit the remaining pieces of the puzzle for book 3, the story there, then I think I'll be in a good place. And after that, there's the I have to do some more work on the world. Try to have a world map, or at least a continent map, ready. So that when I clean up the text, I can hopefully spot oddities with regards to directions that the characters travel in, and the relative placement of countries and so on. So that's also something to look at. But I think perhaps that covers most of what I wanted to talk a little bit about today, and which means that I'll end it here, I think. So thank you for listening. And hopefully be back soon, and I'll hopefully be able to start publishing soon also. But for now, thank you, and goodbye.